the Daf Yomi cycle, which is going through a page of Talmud a day. And if you're not doing it, I'd encourage it, because Sanhedrin is a really fun but intense book. And this week in Daf 35, it's talking about when judges can judge capital cases. Capital cases, of course, always end in death. Now, I'm not going to go into that. I was going to, but the work week was a little bit too intense, and so I just couldn't get as much stuff done as I had hoped. So this is kind of a truncated version. But what they do is they use a halakhic principle called kol v'komer to argue, can a capital case be tried on an Erev Shabbat, on a Friday, or not? Because if a case is going to go, if a capital case looks like it's going to go to a conviction, the conviction is supposed to happen relatively immediately after the guilty verdict. But they want the judges to sleep on it. Okay, so you have the court case, and then it's like, oh, it looks like he's going to be guilty, so then let's postpone it till tomorrow, let everybody sleep on it, and see if they can come up with a reason for acquittal. So then the argument that they're using is, can we or can we not do a capital case on Friday? Because that means that we have to convict on a Shabbat. Or can you convict on a Shabbat? So there's a lot of kol v'komers that are going on there to try to reason this through. Kol v'komer, are you guys familiar with what that is? Some people use light and heavy. And what is it? It's a principle of determining Jewish halacha. It means that what applies to a less important case will certainly apply to a more important case. And it's usually viewed as being an inescapable conclusion. But what's interesting about the kol v'komer is it's number one in Hillel's list of interpretation principles. So it's usually viewed as being the easiest one to see, the easiest ones to apply. But another way of looking at the kol v'komer is lenient versus strict. So what that is, it derives one law from another through the following logic. If a case that is generally strict has a particular leniency, a case that is generally more lenient will certainly also have that leniency as well. And the argument can also be reversed, using the word severity instead of leniency. So, however, and I don't know if I've given enough information on that, but I'll give two examples, and then when you see these two examples, you're going to go, oh, I know how a kol v'komer now works. Okay. But before we do that, a kol v'komer, however you decide to structure it, you can't get more out of the kol v'komer than what you put into it. And again, that's not enough information, but the examples, the best way to learn is by example. So, Rabbi Frond, if you don't know who he is, immerse yourself in his stuff. It's really good. So he noticed that in Parshas Shemos, which is last week's Torah portion, at the very end, or near the very end, the Parashah Shemos ends with Moshe's complaint to Hashem. And he says, since I came to Paro to speak in your name, he has made matters worse for your nation. You have not saved your people. That comes from chapter 5. In the Pesukim at the beginning of this week's Parsha, which is Vayera, Hashem appears to Moshe and tells him again to speak to Bnei Israel and tell them that they are on the verge of redemption. However, when Moshe speaks to them, they do not listen because of the shortness of spirit and the hard work. That comes from 6:9. At that point, Hashem tells Moshe to go back and speak to Paro once more. But Moshe responds with a kol v'komer. You see, Bnei Israel did not listen to me, even though this is good news for them. How can I expect Paro to listen to me when this is bad news for him? And I am of uncircumcised lips. Rashi notes that this is one of the 10 places where we find a Kol V'Kamer argument in the Torah. Now, I asked you to bring Rashi's commentary. I was hoping to see that list, but it's not there. So I have to look more. My Rashi commentary is all in Hebrew, so it takes me a lot longer to go through it. So that's why I was asking for yours. Now, Rabbi Jack Abramowitz, he gives another example. In my opinion, this is like one of the best examples. It's a Kol V'Kamer given by Hashem. In Bamidbar 12:14, after reprimanding Miriam, God sent her out of the camp for a week. Do you remember that? She did Loshen Hora, and she ended up getting leprosy, Saras. So God sent her out of the camp for a week. Moshe asked for clemency on her behalf, but God replied, if her father had spit in her face, would she not hide her face in shame for 7 days? Now, if she would hide her face for a week after being chastised by her father, a Kol V'Kamer indicates that she should leave the camp for 7 days after being chastised by God, because God is greater. That's where the Kol V'Kamer comes in. Logically, however, you would assume that she would go out for at least 1 week, maybe 2, maybe a month. But as I said before, you can't get more out of a Kol V'Kamer than what you put into it. And what do we put into it? A week. So therefore, she only can be sent out for a week, even though God is greater than her father.